Bonjour and welcome back to the famous sailing city of Lorient in northwest France, where it's Pro-Am race day in the Volvo Ocean Race. We're looking down at the race village here from our eye in the sky, where we might be, well, talking to somebody later on. And amazing nautical history in this boat. On the left there is a boat that was Seamaster, an exploration boat from Sir Peter Blake, now called Tara. And then there's a whole fleet of amazing boats with astonishing pedigrees that have sailed out and into this quite remarkable part of the world, just absolutely steeped in maritime heritage. Nearly 8.5 minutes to the start of this race. Up in the air, our eye in the sky, I have Peter Lester. What are you looking at up there, Pete?
Well, good morning, Martin. Yeah, it's beautiful conditions. We're actually right now just above the small island, which is out to the west of the racetrack. The conditions, it's pretty fresh. I see the boats have all got a reef in. It looks to me as though it could be upwards of 20 knots. So the people on board are getting a great ride. It'll be pretty thrilling. Now, what's noticeable over the course, the wind over the track is actually pretty chopped up. You can see gusts on the water, little squirts and gusts of wind coming down the course, which will cause the boats, of course, when they get into that freshening wind, to get a good amount of acceleration on. Reaching start, Martin, plenty of wind, and it just looks a picturesque sight from sitting up here in the chopper. As we come round now, we look at the boats. I can see camper just coming down with a reef in. We must be coming up to about 5 minutes to go.
Bit more than that, 7.5 minutes. With me in the commentary box here, and we're in a little compound near, which is about 5 k's, right by the sea, right on the coast, near the, I believe it's the Centre Nautique Kerguelen, which I think is the island. This is the beach that we're looking out over. You can see this big fleet of Hobie cats here with the little things on the top of their mast so that they don't go upside down. Here with me is Justin Chisholm, and there's the breeze from virtual. Justin, and we've been reveling in this with the first race.
Yeah, breeze is pretty much locked in. Seems to be the same direction, 320 right now. Course is 1.5 nautical miles to the first mark, and maybe just a tad more breeze than we had for the first race. So over 20 knots, I think, now.
Okay, now this is meant to be Pro-Am race day. The adopt a very professional attitude here as we look back. We're on board with camper here, and in the black ride, he's being allowed to start for a second race. He's a young lad called Conrad Coleman, who's just won around the world race, so he's wanted to get a go on one of these boats, and he's got it, probably having one of the many rides of his quite remarkably young life, only 27 and already a record breaker. Now, as I said, heaps of sailing heritage here, and I need to do a little bit more homework on that one, but that sort of harks back to the era when this was the French East India Company, of when they set off to conquer the world from a trade point of view. Lorient was the centre there, and I mean, Justin, you've been here a lot longer than I have, and even I've you just feel the history.
Well, that's right. This is Taberley Town. Eric Taberley, an absolute sailing legend and a hero of mine when I was a youngster. Big museum as a tribute to him here, and of course Frank Camas and the Groupama, they base themselves from here. So Frank is well establishing himself as another sailing legend out of here. But so many teams, you just wander around the various boat sheds here and you can see race boats being prepared for various events. Imoca 60s ready for the Vendée. The MOD 70s left from here very recently. Just fantastic.
So 5 minutes to the start here, and we're looking at Sanya and Abu Dhabi absolutely smoking. Now, Pete, if you're hearing us up in the sky, I can tell you, I don't know how much of the first race you saw, but in the first race, Groupama had a good lead, and then they came down to the choice of the split mark turning buoy, and they opted to go on the more inshore of the two, and that let Puma in to win, and it brought Camper back into the game. So obviously there's you were alluding to the fact that there's some shifty stuff out there.
Yeah, Martin, it's pretty swirly, and you know, the breeze and the puffs would be in the mid-20s, and the light spots, with, you know, the lighter coloured water, the wind's probably more like 18 to 20 knots. And of course, we know that as soon as you get more wind, these boats just really step up their pace. We're just hovering right now, just upwind or along the first leg of the start line. It's going to be a reaching start. I noticed that there's a difference in sail inventory on board the boat. I'm looking right underneath us. Sanya's got, looks like they've got a 3 on, so slightly different rig configurations, but my word, there's a lot of wind on in those puffs. As I'm not sure how long to go, Martin. You can probably give us that. I can't see the clock.
Okay, 3.5 minutes to go, and we're watching Abu Dhabi absolutely smoking along, as is her wont. Now, Pete, you went out on board camper with Emirates Team New Zealand yesterday. Give us something of your impressions, because it was breezy then too.
Oh, yeah, I was in a privileged position yesterday, Martin, to go on board camper for their practice race. And it was an interesting to sit in the back of the boat, you know, and watch how the boat worked. And I must say, quite a... And his team, it's a well-oiled machine. There wasn't a lot of talk going on. Stu Bannatyne was calling the shots. In the lead up to the start, they did 3 or 4 time runs. And I think they've been doing that even here as we watch the Pro-Am. A very tight ship, and you know, then once the positioning of the boat on the water very much fell in the hands of the tactician, Stu Bannatyne, and we saw then Chris Nicholson as the skipper and helmsman working with the trimmers to optimise the speed of the boat and the angles that they wanted to sail the boat. But you know, it was a real interesting exercise. The other thing that really struck with me, Martin, in these stronger conditions, with the twin rudders on board the boat, how when they want to wind the boat down and spin the boat up, and invitation off the... But to sail on one for a couple of hours, it was a brilliant experience.
Peter Lester, eye in the sky, 1:42 to the start here. This is race 2 of the Pro-Am race day, the Volvo Ocean race in Sailing Central, which is Lorient. And the winner of the first race was Puma Ocean Racing, powered by Berg, followed by Groupama, and then we went to then Camper with Emirates Team New Zealand coming in third. How can you see this one panning out? Because anybody could win one of these, Justin.
Well, so much of it is about the start, and you can see we're talking about it being just the Pro-Am race, but look how close these boats are together. Kenny Reid working very hard there just to try and stay to windward of Sanya. It's going to be a very close start.
1 minute to race start.
We're inside a minute now to the start. You're up in the air there looking down, Pete. Who do you like the look of?
Well, Martin, I'm right in the prime seat. We're right on the trans of the start line, 47 seconds to go. I'm getting that time now off the LCD screen on the back of the committee boat. Camper are up at that windward end. There's quite a lot of pressure at the windward end at the moment. If Camper don't get locked out at the windward end, they could be strong. Down at the leeward end here, Abu Dhabi, down at the boat end, they are now pushing Telefonica up. 24 seconds to go. It's about time on distance. Sanya moved forward with Puma just to windward of them, with Frank Camas and the local team, Groupama, who are winning the Volvo Ocean race mid-line. And right now, it's the boats are coming up. Groupama have got a good slot there. Camper, they're in good breeze at the windward end. 5 to go. They're going to be clean off the line. Here they go down the leeward end. It looks like Telefonica and Abu Dhabi are first over the line.
This is meant to be a Pro-Am race. This is meant to be professionals and amateurs. I don't know what the amateurs were doing there, but that was as professional a race start as you're ever going to see, Justin.
Just fantastic. And Sanya managed to get the better of Puma in that little battle. Camper got away very cleanly at the top, and they're just smoking along. A little bit of chance to put the bow down and just push their way over the top of the fleet.
Well, Pete, what a sight for you up there.
Oh, mate, we're just got the primo seat here, looking across the bows of the boat, and up to windward, it's Camper who got into that little freshening gust first. In fact, there's another little squirt coming on Camper now. Just watch Camper stick a bow up when she gets into the puff. Down here towards the leeward end, as we know, Telefonica and Group Armour are very quick to sail reaching, and Telefonica in this pressure now, pushing forward, and that really has been the story of the race, with Telefonica and Group Armour having a lot of pace to sail reaching, and it's Telefonica who have got their nose forward.
Well, Telefonica trying to make amends from their poor showing in the first race, and well, in these conditions, this boat absolutely flies, and we've not got Ike Martinez at the wheel. I'm not sure who that is, might be one of the guests having a bit of a drive, but whoever it is who's driving it is doing a great job, and this shows the pace of these boats. This two-sail reaching is just phenomenal, Justin.
Oh, just tremendous. So they'll be doing upwards of 20 knots right now, and let's just look how close they are. It's like watching, that start was like watching a laser regatta. These are 70-foot boats, and they're just feet apart.
Well, that was really quite a sight, and Telefonica now leaping out and just really compounding their lead. Pete, you're getting the best view from up there.
Yeah, Telefonica, you know, put that down, a good angle off the line, starting down, two up from the committee boat. They had a little bit of a tighter angle in the boats up to windward, which was Puma and Camper. But the boats with the pace, Martin, and it's noticeable looking across the fleet. The quicker hardware out here, definitely Telefonica and Group Armour. We can see the other two, they're almost sister ships. But as soon as they get the little puff of wind, they just light up. So I hope you're looking at Telefonica at the moment. They're in a light spot, but I can assure you that there's a little going to come on them. About 10 seconds.
Just losing you a minute there, Pete. We'll come back to you in a minute, getting a bit of signal break up there now. Justin, I mean, we have actually seen that there has been a pattern developing as we've been following this race since October last year. October last year, clean sheet, we didn't know who was going to be hot, and what we've seen right round, that we know that in these conditions, we know in a reach there's a gap between Group Armour, Telefonica and the rest of the fleet.
That's right. The Group Armour boat very much set up for offshore. They very different layout in the cockpit with the way the winches are configured. They set the boat up for offshore, and they admitted right from the start they were going to have a struggle with the inshore stuff. But they really know this boat inside out now, and I don't really think there's any disadvantage to them on the inshore courses anymore.
Well, we're looking here at the two fastest boats in the Volvo Ocean Race, Telefonica and Group Armour, and you'd have to say there's very little between them and the other boats designed by the Argentinian Juan Kumjan, who won the last edition, and he's doing something. There's no doubt about that. And what do you think it is?
Well, just that his record in this race is quite phenomenal, and the startling thing has been just how little difference there's been between those three boats. I sit and watch the tracker as part of my job during the day, and the boats just sit within 0.1, 0.2 of a knot of each other for hours and hours on end.
Amazing pressure. Peter Lester, our eye in the sky. It's looking like another Telefonica Group Armour tussle.
Yeah, it certainly is, Martin. We're now right at the top mark, and I look at the blue boat and then the green boat of Group Armour, and to me they're just, in this condition, just faster than the others. And they, at this top mark, there's plenty of wind. There's a bit more breeze up here, and it's solid, above 20 knots. And they're coming at the mark. They look like dinghies. They're planing, and it's Telefonica who hold about a one-length advantage over Group Armour as they come thundering into the top mark. But this has been, even though it's a short course, it's been a bit of an arm wrestle, I think, and we've seen a little graphic example of the two fastest boats in the Volvo Ocean Race.
Oh, we're just looking at the crew getting absolutely drenched. There's guests on board at the back of this boat, and I have to say, I just caught one of the guests on Telefonica grin from ear to ear, and you can understand why.
Yeah, they won't mind getting wet. They're going to have full bragging rights in the bar tonight. They're going to talk everybody right through this race. Look how close Abu Dhabi are to the stern of Sanya there.
Okay, well, Camper, they're not at their best in those tight-reaching conditions, that's for sure, and that's the Achilles heel being exposed once again on the big red boat. But Puma not having the best one either. Whoa, that's just absolutely slicing past Ken Reid. It always amazes me how tight they can take it. They just know that there's 70-footer boat in front of them, and they're still... No, they can... Oh, well, I mean, look how close that is. These are amazing images. Pete, we're looking at the fleet coming at us head on, packed in, tight as tight. It's a sight.
Well, yeah, it is. They're heading back down to the start-finishing line now. This angle's a little bit wider, so expect the boats to show a lot of pace, and it's just phenomenal to sit here. We're right behind the boats, and I'm lucky enough to be up here with Paul Todd taking the stills photos, and Matt's shooting the images you'll be seeing, Martin, and honestly, it's just breathtaking.
Well, I envy you there with that view. We're now with the onboard camera on Groupama looking forward, and these well, you sometimes get a little bit lost for words, because for anybody, well, you don't even need to be a sailor to appreciate the drama, the pace, the pressure, everything that's being thrown out here, and the coverage. I have to say, this is the camera work of Matt Connor up in the helicopter using his FLIR lens. Absolutely steady looking back. These sparkling seas, great conditions. Every frame of Rembrandt, as we say. Telefonica now we've got, I think this might be this one of our on-the-water cameras, and I'm not quite sure whether it's Shane Smart, or it is Shane Smart. There was sitting in a very, but I've sat on that boat a lot of times when you've got these things coming at you, and you hope you're in the right place and they're going to get everything right, because we're generally fairly tight on. If you get it wrong, it can be awfully messy. But now looking back down the fleet, and well, I mean, especially for an audience here, you know, watching from the shore, watching from the boats out here, these French people are going to be loving this.
Well, this is a very sailing savvy population here in France. You can just tell wandering around the race village here in Lorient that they know their boats, and they know an awful lot about sailing, so they're going to be thoroughly enjoying this. I noticed some of the guests here just on the grinders swapping out. I don't think that's so everybody gets a turn. I think it's because they're getting worn out.
They're knackered. Okay, we're heading down back towards the start-finishing line. We're with the chopper, looking right down on Camper. We're talking about the guests getting a bit of some grinding work in. Now, Pete, also talking about knowledge. What will they be absorbing here in this racing ahead of the the points counting import race tomorrow?
Well, I think for me, Martin, you know, just let's park the boat speed issue to one side. We've talked about that a lot. But what's really noticeable looking up the track, especially when we get any upwind work tomorrow, is how gusty it is on the water. It's blowing hard, but there's big holes in the wind, and I think that's been chopped up by the island out here, and I think that could be a bit of a factor tomorrow. The other thing that I can notice, Martin, there are some distinct tide lines on the water, and you know, there's a lot of current here, and I think you know, being able to play that current tomorrow, coupled with the which are the getting in phase of the wind shifts, could be the winning of the race tomorrow. So they are the sort of things the tacticians and the helmsmen will be looking for. But looking at the boats as we're just hovering above Telefonica and Groupama, gee, they're evenly matched, those two boats, and they've got a click of speed over Sanya. Sanya's just lost a couple of boat lengths, a bit of a wider angle, and it's a little bit puffy as they come down to Mark 2.
These are absolutely awesome images. Now, what Pete's saying there about the tides and what have you, you've got to think, Justin, that local knowledge for Groupama surely has to have some influence. I mean, we saw it in Auckland with Camp with Emma's Team New Zealand when they were in the harbour race there. They've all been brought up in that harbour. They knew exactly how to, what we call, work the wall, the harbour wall, and they knew just where to put themselves. They knew where the little gusts were coming down through various streets. They can name the streets and what's going to happen at the end of that street. That's local knowledge, and surely with the tides around here, for the guys like Camas who've been sailing here all their lives on Groupama, surely it's got to have some sway. What have you been hearing?
Well, I think so. I think we're in Camas's backyard, really. He knows this piece of water literally like the back of his hand. He sails his big trimaran out of here. Yes, it has to be some advantage, but what we have been hearing is just from some of the teams that they're not expecting Groupama to get too much love out on the water. There's nothing in it for anybody if they romp away with this import race and put the Volvo Ocean Race beyond reach. So they're going to have a fairly difficult day on the water tomorrow, I think. Nobody will be giving them any room that they don't have to.
So no quarter given. We're watching, Pete, the water pouring off the mainsail of Sanya as it went round ahead of Camper, which we're looking at now. There's no shortage of breeze out there.
No, it's plenty of wind. A little less at the bottom mark here. As we're right above Camper as she comes around Abu Dhabi. There's been a bit of a split. Bottom mark gate with Guma electing to take the white marker as they tack around. Looking back up the course, Telefonica have just taken a couple of boat lengths over Groupama. Looked like Groupama just came around the bottom mark in a little bit of a wind shadow, and that meant that Telefonica, wind shadow of the boats coming down to the mark, and Telefonica have extended. But my word, those 1K boats look pretty potent under this angle and this amount of wind. But looking up the course again, Martin, we're coming along here as I look at Matt Connor in the back taking the shots. Matt, he operates. He's actually not looking out of the helicopter. He's got a little monitor in front of him. So the shots that you're getting, Martin, now hopefully you got you over Telefonica. So Matt's looking at a little monitor, and talk about getting vertigo. I'm glad I'm not doing that job.
Well, talking of vertigo, now Justin Chisholm, you were saying to me that you were on the finish line where this leg finished in some of the stormiest conditions ever in the Volvo Ocean Race, and you were sitting there as we're sitting on board Telefonica. You were sitting at the start line and talking about keeping your stomach together. That would have been pretty crazy.
It was. We had a beautiful committee boat to go out on. We motored out and laid the finish line with Bill O'Hara, the principal race officer, and but we had big swells. It was wind against tide, 3 to 4 meter swells. As soon as we were at anchor, the whole boat was just rolling from one side to the other. At one point I had a chair in one hand and I was dancing with the fridge, trying to fend that off with the other hand. It's a glamorous life we lead.
Well, I think that sounds like a recipe for mal de mer.
Yeah, certainly one of the race committee or one of the race committee boat crew pretty much as soon as we put the anchor down disappeared down below and was just heard moaning for the few hours that we were out there waiting for the boat.
Well, that's what they say. For the first half hour you think you're going to die, thereafter you're worried that you might not. My favourite definition of seasickness. I think most of us have been there, and we're grateful that sometimes you do get your legs eventually. Amazes me that how many of these sailors know they're going to go out and get seasick and yet still do it. Chris Nicholson's one, and they can control it now with some of the magic potions, but the fact is it's just one of the worst feelings in the world. The waves absolutely thrashing off, Groupama powering through, and you know, that is just the most awesome sight, and the demonstration of the incredible power of these boats. And that's what sticks with you when you're on them, eh?
Well, you never forget this experience. These boats are so advanced now that it's almost like another sport. That was what struck me when I first sailed. When I sailed with Ian Walker on Green Dragon, I've sailed since I was 9 years old, but it seemed a very unfamiliar concept when I got aboard a Volvo Open 70. Just very, very different to dinghy sailing or the sailing that I was used to.
Well, it is a different feeling, and Pete, you've been sailing all your life. They are a different beast. Pete, there with us? No?
Yeah, I just missed you there a bit, Martin. They are. What I've been looking at here, Martin, as I've come down, coming up to Mark 3 again, it's just the different configurations of the boat. To me, Telefonica looks to you know, just to be a little bit more bow down than Group Armour. Group Armour, I understand, has the evolve further aft on the fin, and to me she has that tendency just to put a bow up out of the wash a little easier than Telefonica. And then the other extreme is Camper. Camper looks distinctly bow down and pushes a lot of water around off the bow. Sanya looks to be somewhere in the middle, but even though you look at Telefonica and Group Armour, they're from the same design pedigree, the configuration that the skippers and the crews have put the boats in, they are slightly different, and it's just an interesting observation.
There's the noise we talk about, the creaks, the groans, and a sign that these are boats under pressure. And we go back to the point that there has to be an element of protecting your assets here. They can't, you know, they're enjoying the race, they want to give the guests a bit of an experience, but they also have to turn up and front up where the points count tomorrow, and the points are vital, Justin.
Well, they are, and it's going to be a big day. Talked to all the skippers this week, and you know, they know there is any points lost now could be absolutely fatal for the campaigns. Kenny Reid and Chris Nicholson both told me that it's going to be very interesting. Obviously, Kenny's in second place, a big gap really to first, and I asked him would he be looking over his shoulder with Chris Nicholson's camper just 5 points behind, and he said, well, you just don't know what you're going to get in the import races until the boats line up on the start line, and that really determines what the strategy is going to be. And they're just pretty much going to line up against the other boats and just see how it plays out. But he did say that if Group Armour decide that they're going to give this race away, then he's going to be poised to snatch it away from them.
Quite stunning images again we're getting here, as Ian Walker uncharacteristically comes round dead last here on this Pro-Am race, race 2. Not having the happiest time, but you have to say though, overall Ian Walker, you know, they've you know, considering what they've been through with a snapped mast and a broken hull and all the rest of it, then to come and, you know, do as well as they have on the import races, then to win an ocean leg, you've got to take your hats off to them for coming back.
Absolutely, and I think that's very important that people remember that. You know, this is a new team. To have a United Emirates team in the race is the first time ever, and I think the experience has been like a roller coaster for them. But I know that back in Abu Dhabi, everybody's been very excited, and particularly when they hung on to win the transatlantic race, it was a tremendous boost for Ian and the crew, and they have a lot of support back in Abu Dhabi.
They certainly did. We saw that when we were there for both the import and the restart. And now this is Telefonica. This has been race 2 of the Pro-Am series, the Volvo Ocean Race, Lorient. I'm going to go and learn a bit more French about to get the right words to describe exactly the significance of Lorient in world and French sailing. Fabulous shot there from the helicopter, back now with the onboard camera at the back as Telefonica do a total about face. Last in the first race, first in the second race, and that's more like the camper that we know, and I think any second now she's, you know, got about 900 meters to the finish yet, and she is just flying down. And you've got to say that this is more like situation normal for Ike Martinez and his crew.
Well, that's right. Looks like Horacio Carabelli is actually skippering the boat today. He's a past Volvo Ocean Race winner himself, and he now runs the whole Telefonica operation from the shore, and has been absolutely integral in that stunning performance in the early part of the race. He masterminded the rendezvous on the leg 5 across the Southern Ocean to get the boat repaired, and of course they very nearly came back from that to snatch a win from Puma on the way into Brazil.
Extraordinary performance. And there's the gap. We use the phrase very often, the rich get richer, and once that leader gets out ahead, they do tend to stretch out. This has been no exception for Telefonica. She's now thrashing down towards the line, and well, talk about the speed. I mean, you know, these These are something. Right, Pete, can you see the finish from where you are?
Yeah, we're right on the finish, Martin. Looks like he's got about 80 metres to go. It's Telefonica, good start. They were pretty well about a bar off the line. I think I called them first equal off the line with Abu Dhabi, but it was more the angle that they got up to that Mark 1. They led at Mark 1. They've extended over Group Armour, so Telefonica wins the second race of the Pro-Am, and next will be Group Armour as they come through, showing good speed, and then the fans, really, the special guests on board Sanya, they will be pretty happy to get over the line ahead of Camper, and then we go back to Puma and then Abu Dhabi. But it's pretty windy. It's pretty windy out here. Down towards the finish line area, it's a little bit quieter, but really beautiful conditions for these people to experience as we look at Sanya coming through. But Martin, it certainly gives you a different view sitting up here in the chopper at looking at these Volvo 70s.
Well, what you probably couldn't see from way up there we could see is that when Telefonica crossed the line, there was an almighty cheer and the great, and arms in the air as we watch Camper now head towards the finish line. She too is smoking. You can see what Pete was talking about that the way she shoves the water out of the way. Big bow wave on Camper, again across the line in 4th place, and just in that the fact that you see them cheering like that sort of really compounds the point that we've made several times as Abu Dhabi crosses the line, as Puma crosses the line. That for all it's an amateur thing.
Well, it is, and this is the best day out you can have on a Pro-Am experience. I think you can keep golf, you can keep tennis, you can keep watching any sport. Nothing beats sailing on a Volvo Open 70 around a race course with the best skippers in the world,
especially in a breeze like this, because this makes these boats absolutely light up to their true, completely thrilling potential. So they all do a little bit weird, looking a little bit weary now, and this is Abu Dhabi, and they're going to bring up the rear of the fleet. There's the finish line, the committee boat in the foreground. You see the white buoy, and then the gorgeous coastline of Brittany stretching up to the north. Absolutely gorgeous spot, and I've only just arrived here last night, and I'm looking forward to getting stuck into some of the local delicacies, the beautiful seafood and the like that comes off here. And I would imagine that this lot now, they'll have a little bit of a breather. And Pete up there, I think we'll be hoping there's going to be one more race, but race 3. But what's it been like for you as this experience? You're obviously enjoying it.
Oh yeah, it's brilliant, Martin, and to actually sit up here, this is the best seat in town, really. Now, one of my impressions I'm thinking about tomorrow, if we get good breeze, I think we'll just be in. I think I've said that earlier. I think the current will play a big role, a bit of local knowledge.
No, we're just losing Pete there, just crackling off. And so we're going to take a little bit of a breather now. What happens now is the chase boats from each team come alongside. Some hop on, some hop off for the new guests. Make way for the new guests, so they'll be looking forward to enjoying that experience. So we'll close it out here from Justin Chisholm and Pete Lester up in the air, and we will look forward to coming back on air at 13:50 local, 11:50 UTC, to bring you race 3 of the Pro-Am Day here in the Volvo Ocean Race at Lorient in France. Goodbye for now. We'll see you again soon.